In today's Bedrock Edition tutorial, I'll be showing you how to build a very simple and safe wither farm in your survival worlds on Bedrock Edition. You won't take any damage at all when using this farm. You don't even need to use a sword if you don't want to. As you can see, the wither is just dying on its own, but you can also speed up the process by hitting the guy if you feel like it. It's actually perfectly safe. So of course, when using this farm, you'll get a couple extra bones and coal from the wither skeletons that it summons, and if you're lucky, you might even get an extra wither skull from those guys dying. As you can see, there is our nether star. It only takes a couple minutes to die naturally, or you can speed up that process if you feel like it. And of course, this is with mob griefing on and on hard difficulty as well, so you can use this on any realm, server, or solo world that you play in, and you know that it works perfectly safe without the wither escaping. If you're playing on hard mode, you also get a couple of wither roses from the wither skeletons if you are lucky. This build is incredibly cheap. It only takes about 9 obsidian, so as you can see, we can simply place in our soul sand right here, place the wither skulls on it, and we can actually do this with multiple withers at a time as well, so you're not limited to just one wither. I wouldn't recommend having multiple withers in there, but if you feel like it, if you like living on the edge, then I mean, go for it, right? YOLO. Having multiple withers in there is definitely very sketchy. They stop taking damage for some reason, but you can still damage them manually. I really would not recommend the multiple withers. Just play it safe, guys. Even though it's extra sketchy, you can still handle it in survival just fine. I'm not wearing any armor at all, and I haven't taken even a heart of damage from doing this. So as really bad as this might look, it honestly isn't really anything to worry about. This thing is incredibly reliable as it relies on some super basic mechanics. This method has actually been around for quite a while, but previously I didn't think it worked on Bedrock Edition, but it turns out that it does, so hooray! Anyway, we need to summon the withers below the end portal here in the end dimension, and we just summon them on the west side due to their summoning mechanics. If we summon them right here, they're actually going to end up right in the middle at 0, 0, and that's going to place their heads inside of this piece of bedrock right here, which will suffocate them. Now, of course, there is the bedrock pillar above that, so they're not going to be able to fly up or escape or anything like that, and they also cannot enter these portals from below either, so they're not going to end up in the overworld. All of these skulls that they shoot will end up in the bedrock, so none of them are going to escape in the area or fly off into the end or anything like that. They can't actually break the obsidian below their foot level either, so that's how we're able to trap them and keep them inside of the bedrock. Now, they can damage other blocks in the area, such as endstone, when they're summoned in, when they reach half health, and when they die, just because they have those large area of effect explosions, but that is not going to allow them to escape. Keep in mind that withers can technically go through these end portals, so if you have one escape and fly around, there's a very small chance that it might end up going through this portal and going to the overworld. That should never happen unless something has gone very, very, very wrong. There's only 2 downsides to this method. Of course, you're going to have a little bit of a crater surrounding your end portal in the end. That's not too big of a deal, though. The end always looks terrible anyway. And then a couple of the wither skeleton skulls will end up going through the end portal and ending up at world spawn, which could do some damage to the surroundings. As you can see, it's broken a couple of blocks right here. So if you have something built at world spawn, keep in mind that it might get a little bit of damage, specifically from those wither skulls that go through the portal. Overall, this method is a lot safer and easier to do than the previous method that we had on Bedrock Edition. Previously, we would use the in-city gateways, and we would use a mushroom or something to break the gateway itself, and then summon a wither in there. That method is actually still perfectly valid and very safe as well. However, with that one, you still have tons of wither skulls being shot off into unloaded chunks, and they just kind of stay there forever, which is the major downside of that method. If you're looking for some other good wither tech, check out my recent fortress farm. It gets up to 2,700 wither skulls per hour, which is going to be keeping you very busy here in the end dimension with this wither killer. And I also have a wither cage tutorial that's great for tree farms, concrete converters, cobble, and basalt farms as well. So there is a lot of other good stuff that you can use the wither for. And let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? The only thing that you really need for this is 9 obsidian, and of course there is plenty of obsidian here in the end dimension, so you don't need to bring any with you. And what you need to do first is just clear out a little bit of room underneath the end portal. This is way more room than you need, so don't mine out that much. You really don't need that much. Anyway, we're gonna go directly underneath the center of the end portal. If you have your coordinates turned on, you should be standing at 0, 0, but this thing is 5 wide by 5 long, so it's very easy to find the center of it. Anyway, we're going to place in 1 obsidian right here at 0, 0, and make sure there is a 2-block gap above that obsidian so that you can stand on it and the wither gets stuck there. We're going to put 1 piece of obsidian to every side of that just to add a little bit of extra insurance that the wither actually stays there. And now you need to figure out what direction is west. So you can pull out a locator map. Top of the map is always going to be north. So if we face it to the left, that is going to be west. Or if you don't have a map, you can use a sunflower. These things always face east. Anyway, now that we know this over here is west, we're going to go ahead and place in 1 more obsidian right here, 1 obsidian up top, 1 more obsidian right there, and then 1 obsidian to either side of it like so. And this little T shape right here is where you're going to be placing in your soul sand to actually summon in the wither. Anyway, once you feel confident that this is all built as it should be, all you need to do is place in your 3 wither skulls right there. Your wither should get summoned in right here in the middle, and then you probably want to back up a little bit because it does explode, and it might deal you a little bit of damage. But as you can see, the wither is now stuck there. And now if you feel like it, you can go ahead and smack this guy with your sword, jump up and down, take a picture of it, make fun of it, whatever you want to do. It's going to suffocate over the next couple of minutes, and you can just kind of sit here not worrying about it. You can go AFK or do whatever you want. Occasionally, you might have an Enderman in the area come up and smack this guy. That's not an issue either, but just watch out for angry Endermen. Now, occasionally, the blast from the wither can break a piece of obsidian from this thing, or I guess the entire thing, but as you can see, every single piece of obsidian actually gets dropped. There's a 100% drop rate, so you'll never lose any obsidian or any blocks from building this, but you might need to rebuild it between summoning withers, and of course, make sure this entire thing is intact before you summon in any withers. The biggest issue with all wither killers like this is that you cannot log out or leave the area as the wither is dying. So as you can see, we got a wither in there. If I log out of the game and then log back in, that wither is going to escape. This happens 100% of the time for all wither killers. Be very aware of this. You do not want to log out or leave the area if you are actively killing a wither. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, then consider dropping a like as it helps out the video on the channel a ton. If you're new here, then maybe subscribe to help us reach 500,000. And otherwise, I'll see you guys down in the comment section in the next one. Thanks for watching, and then there was silence.